Hey, good afternoon. Happy Monday. It's Smarty Jules, your 10-minute professor, bringing you 30 jewels in 30 days, and we're on jewel number 29 today. We are getting ready to take our victory lap. I have been so excited today, just reflecting on what we've been able to accomplish. There's nothing more gratifying than the feeling of finishing and following through with the things that you started. And today the jewel that I'm going to talk about is on feedback. Feedback is something that is very important when you're trying to get something done. When you are trying to get something accomplished, when you're trying to build something, whether you're working on yourself or whether you're working on a business or whether you're working on anything really, feedback is always good. However, you have to be very deliberate about feedback that you're asking for. If you're asking in the position that you're asking for feedback, sometimes when you're in a workplace, you don't get the option. It's just a part of the job. But what I always like to share and I train on is that feedback is not just something that you just randomly throw out there. There is a delicate dance to feedback, and it is an art and a science to it. It is something that can be, I've heard it being described as the breakfast of champions. Feedback, good feedback, because it can help you look at your through your lens of what it is you're doing, make adjustments as needed. And feedback is designed to help you to get better, to help all of us get better at whatever it is that we're doing. However, there's some things that you have to take in consideration when you are seeking feedback. And I thought it was appropriate for me this to be the final nail in the roof that we're going to be putting on to our house that we have built. Feedback must come from a source that is trusted, even though there are different types of feedback. And sometimes it needs to come from some of your biggest critics, because someone who is a critic will be able to see things that you may not see. And sometimes it's good for you to know and to hear what they have to say, because we can learn from our critics as well, because they're looking for all the holes in our game. So we will take that into consideration, but we'll get back to that. But feedback that's healthy and coming from a healthy place to help us grow, it should come from a trusted place. Feedback should come from someone who has poured into you before it's time for them to give you feedback. Meaning they should have feedback ideally comes from someone who has invested on the front end of whatever it is that you're doing. If you're a classroom teacher, then before you get feedback from your coach or from your administrator, they should have come in and worked with you, with professional development. They should have come in and already observed you. It should be someone who is already invested in seeing you do well. Feedback is not given in a way that it is angry. It is not intended to be given in a way that it is punitive or retaliatory. Feedback is not something that you provide to people when you get mad with them. And now you want to tell them everything that you think about them and everything that you have thought about, everything that they've ever done in the workplace or outside of the workplace. And that could be in a relationship, your personal relationship. It could be if you're just fed up now with your children, so now you're going to really let them have it. That is the worst time to give feedback. Feedback should not come when you're angry with someone or when you're trying to, drive home a point that you've been angry about for, a week or two. Feedback should come from a healthy place of wanting to see the person to get better at what they're doing. And it also should be very specific. You don't take an opportunity to ask for feedback and get feedback on the whole plethora of, the assignment. It needs to be specific, so that if it's something that you're doing well, they need to be able to identify what it is you're doing well, so that you'll know that you need to keep doing it. When you get feedback, too much of it all at once, it can be overwhelming, and you may not be able to make any adjustments because it may make you feel that you have not accomplished anything at all. So feedback is something, like I said, is meant to be beneficial to the person that is receiving it or asking for it, to be able to help them grow. So I'm asking you for feedback. You've been with me, some of you now, for 29 days. And I'd like to know, what did you think of this Smarty Jewels series? What did you think of the jewels? What would you like to see next? Which jewel would you like for me to develop out into a course, into an ebook, a digital product? Put something in the comments. Talk back to me and let me know what you thought. Did you think the videos were too long or too short? Did you like the music? Did you not like the music? I'm asking you for I'm here giving you an opportunity to give me feedback. And the last thing that I want to do as I get ready to close out on this jewel is that today is, I call it Manic Monday. I was thinking about, just kind of where we are and then what the next steps for me and for this work would be. And I was thinking about that we are in a period, and I always like to remind you of what this work is. This work is intended to be my ability to put a footprint on where we are in the world and what I want to leave as my legacy. Right now, we are in a revolutionary period in time that started with the COVID-19, and it has transitioned and moved on to some very uncomfortable racial relations and tensions that have always been in our American society, but it has bubbled up, and now we have to address some things. And so because of where we are as a nation right now, it was giving everyone an opportunity to kind of decide where they were going to be as a part of the 2020 footprint. Maybe you would be a person that is going to be a doer. Maybe you're going to be a person that's going to be a sayer. Or maybe you're going to be a person that's going to be the witness to it all and just tell the story. But I wanted to make sure that I had a definite place in this work, in what we need in the world, to be able to contribute daily, to motivate people, to inspire them, to help them to professionally and personally develop their insides, because that is what is the anchor of us all. And as I thought about some of the people that have led significant movements, did you know that some of the biggest movements that have ever taken place were started by one woman for one reason? Sometimes we think we have to have a whole big audience in order to be able to make a difference. I was reminded of Mary Kay, who started Mary Kay Cosmetics. And she started that movement because she was tired of being a secretary and being overlooked in the workplace for men who were not as smart as her. And she wanted to give women an opportunity to have an income. I was reminded of Susan G. Komen, who was looking for the cure. It was started by Nancy Brinker, who actually was inspired because her sister Susan died of breast cancer, and she made her a forever promise that she was going to work to find a cure. I was reminded of Candy Lightner, who started MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, because her 13-year-old daughter was killed by a drunk driver. And it was one person who had the will, who had the reason, and who had the energy to start a movement that made a significant difference and an impact that we are still benefiting from 30, 40, 50 years down the road. So I'd like to challenge you. Today is Manic Monday. And when I want to be inspired, one of my favorite videos that I like to look at is from the movie Flashdance. Because it was just a small town girl just like me who was looking for a way to live her dreams. And she may not have had a whole lot of people in the beginning that thought that she could do it, but she never gave up. And I would just like to be the voice that would speak to you today to remind you that you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. Never give up. It doesn't matter if you're a small town girl or if you're a big city lady. One woman was able to create a movement that we are still benefiting from 50 years later. I'm Smarty Jules, your 10-minute professor. We're talking about feedback. This was the final nail that we laid in the roof in the house that we built. And tomorrow we're going to do a walkthrough. I hope that you will join me as I bring you jewel number 30. We are accomplished. We have followed through. We have shown up and done exactly what we said that we would do. And I'm proud of that, and you should be too. I'll see you tomorrow.